Electrocast.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Oh, I just had my oil checked. Welcome to Check My Oil. I'm DK Sizzle. I'm here with Ben Peak, former professional MMA fighter, although there might be rumblings that he's getting back into the circuit soon. Put some beatings down on some regional MMA fighters. Would love to see it, but I also used to get scared that my friend Ben was going to get hurt. But I do have Ben Peak here, and I have my other closest friend in the world, Matt Wilcox, from the Degenerate Gambler point of view. You guys know the deal. You guys know the story. Longtime fans of the show know the essence and the magic that we're all going to bring to the table here. And we're going to talk about a fucking banger of a card, UFC 291. We didn't get to talk about UFC 290, which turned out to be a pretty good card, all things considered. But, you know, the perils and the pitfalls of real life did prevent us from all getting together and talking about that card. But we're going to double down on the energy today, and we're going to really bring it to talk about UFC 291 Poirier versus Gashi, which is just like guaranteed fireworks, box office. But the rest of the card, honestly, this is one of those pay-per-views where they've sort of stacked it start to finish. We will not be talking about the early prelims because I think there's a lot to talk about with the prelims and the main card. So just to get right into it, because that's what everyone's here they're paying their money to hear about. Jake Matthews and Darius Flowers. Jake Matthews has fought 17 times in the UFC, and he just doesn't look like the guy that we kind of thought that he was supposed to be when he first came in. He's better at welterweight. I think we could all agree there. But doing things like getting submitted by Sean Brady, but then like boxing Andre Fiallo and winning that's fun. In saying all that, I do think, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, I think he's probably going to win this fight. He's a heavy favorite at minus 260. I don't see a ton of value in an underdog bet here. I think maybe because there was like a dropout and a reapply to this card. This is Matthews' fight to lose. I don't think there's any value in any bet on this, Matt, unless you think that there's some sort of weird method of victory thing, which I'll always fucking lose my money on, no problem. But like, I don't know. It's Matthews' fight to lose, but I don't fully trust him. The odds are stacked. There's not a ton of value here. What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, no way. It's Matthews all the way. Flowers is taking this on, 10 days notice and going up in weight for this fight. It doesn't make any sense. I would have thought that Jake Matthews would have gotten something a little bit stiffer after his last fight, something a little bit more, competitive, but here we are. I think he's just going to run through him.
I think that's fair. I mean, would you put it as a parlay? Would you let it potentially wreck a parlay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, interesting. Well, all right.
I might actually have a parlay for the listeners today of the prelims and early prelims.
Great.
So maybe he'll be a part of it. Maybe he won't. We'll have to wait until the end.
Okay, great. We'll check in with you at the end of the prelim section here. Ben, did you ever have anybody on short notice, or were you ever on short notice?
Big time, buddy. All the time.
Wherever. Anytime, anywhere.
Right.
What's you've done both. You've had short notice opponents and you've been a short notice opponent. Which do you prefer? If that's not an obvious question.
Well, back in the day, I really preferred the being a short notice opponent. Obviously, I'm sure that's the go-to answer there. But especially because of my training regimen, I was just kind of year round, and I would only ever really kick it up for the last 2 weeks. Every single fight.
Stay ready, so you don't have to get ready, baby.
Yeah, I was training all the time, and so hey, if I got a 2 week, short notice, let's do it.
Wait, is it? I mean, I guess to sort of extrapolate that to the UFC though, if you're fighting guys at the the cream of the crop and you're getting ready for specific styles, there's no worry there where it's like if you have to take an opponent on short notice, but you're not necessarily, Connor McGregor, where you can be like picking your fights or whatever. You still got to fight on this card because you don't want to get forgotten about. Is it a huge risk if you've prepared for something stylistically, or should you just be well-rounded enough to be able to take a short notice fight?
The safe answer is always to just be ready for everything, feel comfortable in every aspect, whether somebody's stronger than you there or not. You have to figure out tools to nullify them, maybe not compete with them in their game. And that's just being a smart fighter. But you do run into people who are, like, I would hate to be getting ready for this guy who's like kind of like a Michael Phelps of MMA, super tough dude, just a gamer, and then they're like, you're fighting Bo Nickel, and be like, well, I wish I was drilling takedowns, son of a bitch. you will run into that. But
it like if you had a 6-week camp, how much, it's like we've been talking about this with the Ultimate Fighter. Like, Matt, you made this point. Like, we've been watching the Ultimate Fighter, and it's like Conor McGregor coming in and being like, you gotta slip this way for like a few minutes before you go fight somebody isn't going to change the entire like DNA of your like fighting style, right? So can a 6-week camp, which is I guess what I would consider ideal from what I'm told, can a 6-week camp change your fight style that much? Can you drill up on takedowns for Bo Nickel that much, or is it like a foregone conclusion what's going to happen? Is it more of a nullification thing?
You're talking to me or Matt?
You.
Oh, my bad. Can you ask the question again?
It was such a long question. You asked it so well.
Dude, I know. I think that's what got me because, dude, I kind of drifted off halfway through. And I was like, he's not talking to me. I can for this one. I swear I thought I heard you say Matt. Okay, go again.
Yeah, no, moving on. Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro. If the listeners were curious to the answer to that question, hit us up on Twitter or threads. The lowdown of this fight, Roman Kopylov and Claudio Ribeiro. Kopilov's a -210 favorite. Ribeiro, you're getting shorted on the fucking value again. Fucking Vegas, dude. Like, you can't give me fucking +210 to a -210. You can't, can you? Because you're fucking money grubbing assholes. +170 shorted on the underdog value here, which I do think there is some in this fight. I think Kopilov's a guy that's improving steadily. I think that a lot of he's a little bit of a who has he fought type guy. I don't recognize a ton of the guys on his resume. As he starts to get more and more competitive in the UFC, I think we might get some insight into what he has to offer. I know he's dangerous. I know he's aggressive. I know he has knockout power, but I know also that he swings with his chin straight up in the fucking air, which, by the way, so does fucking Tom Aspinall. And I wasn't thrilled with the entire reaction. Like, John Jones had a point when he was like, there's always a new guy that's going to beat me. There's always a new guy that's going to beat me. A few months ago, it was Cyril Gahn. And he has the best footwork, and no one's ever been a striker like him, and I fucking dismantled him in like 2 seconds. Tom Aspinall throws like his chin slept with his wife, and he's just trying to get it murdered. Like, he's just like this out there, and they're like, he's so fast. I'm like, he is fast, but somebody's just going to slip one of those punches and
really wide open.
Send him to meet Alistair Overeem at the bar in the Shadow Realm. But
I was the after effect. I get it. Tom Aspinall doesn't look like a generic heavyweight. He looks like a adaptation of a heavyweight, like with a
that's
light
what it
heavyweight.
is. That's what it is.
But I'm watching him fight with his chin up, and I'm thinking about John Jones nailing Rashad Evans with that elbow. I'm like, he would kill.
And I think it'd be
end his career.
Yeah, the problem though is like there's nobody good enough to fucking beat John Jones right now. I mean, I was just talking about this with Leah the other night. Like, the Daniel Cormier was running through everybody. He was running through fucking everyone. There was nobody.
Everyone.
He was just like taking everybody apart. And by the time they were done fighting their trilogy or whatever, everybody came to the same conclusion. They could fight 1,000 times, and John Jones would win 1,000 times. And it's just like, it's just not fair. He's at the end of the game. He's at the end of the game. Is he the most dangerous athlete, combat sports athlete in the world? Yes. Is he the guy you want to hold that mantle? No. Obviously, you want somebody cooler, better. Yeah, but he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, I like it.
I actually don't doubt that. I know he's aggressive, Ribeiro. I know that he has knockout power, so you could potentially get some value here on this underdog bet, but he really does swing wild. And I think that Kopylov will just be patient. I think he'll take him down to close out rounds. I think he'll see that there's a ton of weaknesses in the grappling here, and it just to be safe, let's just go in there and get this bet. In fact, there might even be more value in Kopylov getting the finish than the overall underdog money line bet. What do you think, man? Are we doing a practical
That's
joke?
exactly what I was going to say. I think.
Oh man.
What I was going to say was, I was just going to say, betting on Kopylov to get the finish here probably makes more sense, or putting him in part of a parlay to just win it outright. But yeah, I don't like Guerrero. He swings wild. He's a lunatic. And both of them, it's kind of like a who have you fought, what have you done? But you know me, I'm always going with the block European. I just can't help it.
Yeah, you know those Russians. They're like that. They're made of something. Ben, if you were fighting somebody who was like a wild striker, right, in MMA now, and I know that you're more of a stand-up guy, so I can kind of maybe predict your answer. But if you're fighting someone who's like a wild striker who is really potentially has a danger to like really hurt you or whatever, and you know you have a clear grappling advantage, do you take the safe route or do you test your mettle?
Hard to say, man, because I mean, you plan for one thing, and fighting's an emotional thing,
Right.
I think it really depends on, there's some factors to consider. The fight in general, how emotional it is, like and I'm just answering. I'm trying to be objective of how I would respond.
Sure.
But then also the venue. You know, like if it's the UFC, like, and you're in a spectator sport.
Yeah.
Throw down. That's the way I would feel about certain things. I remember being involved in game plans for weeks and weeks and weeks, and just and then getting in there and sitting down after the first round and being like, no, this is just not for me, dude. Like, I gotta go. Like, fuck this. That's it. Like just being irritated with the way a fight was feeling.
Yeah.
And then
But how clear are your thoughts like when you sit down on the stool after the first round? Like, are you hearing your inner monologue? Are you hearing like, or is it just that like sort of emotional reaction where you're sort of on instinct?
So I mean, there definitely is some instinct there, and there's like the fucking everything's a mile a minute, but you are zoned in. I remember it would be kind of like when I would sit down to describe it if you're watching a movie, that like dull ring and like you can hear people talking at you, and I could definitely see everybody who was in front of me, all the cornermen, but the one thing that I had clear the entire time was looking at my opponent across.
Right.
I would always just be totally honed in on that, on their body language, who they're talking to, what they're talking about.
Because you can't break that concentration and then try to get it back once the second round starts, right? Yeah.
You're just in there.
Yeah. It's
I
like
think I would cry. I think I would just start crying in the corner. I'd sit down. Like, he hit me really hard. And it hurts.
Yeah, that's why we don't do this. We just talk about it. We don't be about it.
My finger.
Yeah, I mean, actually, on that note, I think there's a theme for this card and this conversation, because I think there's something to be talked about with this sort of violence that's going to happen in the main event, hopefully. And I have a theory about how that main event's going to go because of the level of violence that was inflicted the last time those guys fought. Ben, who you got in this one? I don't know if there's a ton of value, like I said, but the wild swinger, you betting on the outside chance of a knockout, or you betting on the guy who's probably going to just take him down and beat him?
It'd be smart early on. I imagine most of these guys are so well trained that take them down, go for the sub.
Yeah.
At this level,
Yeah. It's going to be good because right after this is a prelim. Right after this, two guys everybody's heard of are, I mean, I would hope if you're watching the UFC on a regular basis, are about to fight Derek Lewis and Marcus Rogerio de Lima. De Lima's a huge fucking favorite here, and I just don't know. I mean, okay, so Derek Lewis, like, obviously he's very likable. He's a likable character. He was one of those guys that sort of got to the precipice of being able to be at that elite level at heavyweight and just sort of fell off because he just didn't quite have the athleticism to work a proper wrestling base and grappling base into his game. And then right as that started to happen, he sort of started to decline a little bit in the stand-up. DC fucking just absolutely just tortured him for like 5 rounds. It was so fucking upsetting. He's really
so bad.
it's such a funny thing with MMA, right? Like Ben was saying last time we did the show, and we had a conversation when we were all together a couple weeks ago about this, about how you fall. And it's like, it's the same. It's like Derek Lewis underneath DC in a wrestling match, like Izzy when he moved up to light heavyweight. It's like there's something about what their legs are doing.
Yeah.
Like it's not that much different than what other people's legs are doing when they're on the bottom, when they know what they're doing, but like they're not doing really anything. You know what I mean? It's like they're very flat, like they're just sticking out of the end of a blanket in a Roald Dahl book.
Yeah.
It's just like well, you should be doing something with those. More than what you're doing right now. I don't know what it is, but it's like you can immediately tell when somebody is just like not on the ground level. And it's like that's the fun thing about an MMA, right? Where it's like there is this sort of rock, paper, scissors aspect to it that is shrinking, obviously, but like at the high level, like this sort of still happens. And I think that it might go that way again for Derek Lewis, if we're being honest, because I think putting him in the ring with a Brazilian, one of the league of yellow shorts, as I like to call them, is not a it's just like you're Brazilian, you fucking wear yellow shorts. It's like, but what if I like the green shorts? It's like you're wearing the fucking yellow short. I don't get it, but it is what it is. And you're a hillbilly, you're in camo. Try that in a small town. All right, so Derek, what is that topical?
I like that.
I think you could throw $50 on Derek Lewis catching a knockout here because he can at any point knock somebody out. But smart money probably on De Lima taking him down and giving him a tough night. Matt, what do you think here about these numbers?
De Lima.
Submission?
It's De Lima. Derek Lewis doesn't have that dog in him anymore. Maybe I think De Lima's just going to hang him out. I think they're going to put him to sleep. I think Tide Tuivasa showed us that Derek Lewis. Well, it was so much fun when it happened. It's all over now.
Oh yeah, he got knocked out by another big puncher. Yeah. That's depressing.
And not even get knocked out. He quit.
Yeah, he doesn't have that thing anymore. Ben, do you think like the closest thing we have to boxing in MMA really is when two like big punching heavyweights get in there, and it's just like, let's see whose head gets knocked off first.
Yeah.
And like, is that era going away? Because like people are always trying to make the comparisons, right? Like people are always trying to say like, oh, boxing is like this and MMA is like this, and I think they're just incredibly different, to be honest. Like I think that they're farther apart than people realize. With the amount of things you have to think about, like the different things you can throw at somebody, but like if you're an elite boxer, if you have the kind of punching power that a Derek Lewis or a Tai Tuivasa or one of these guys has, you can still compete in the UFC at that level. How long do you think that's going to last? And like, when do you think we're going to start to see guys have that? Plus at heavyweight, I might add, because heavyweight's obviously where the fucking box office is when it comes to this kind of stuff. And like in historically in boxing, like same deal. When are we going to see it sort of come back around where it's like, yeah, they have that and all their other shit cancels each other out. So here we are, like to you from your trained eye, do you see it as just like two fucking sluggers, like two bums? Or is it like, no, these guys are elite at this thing and we want to watch them do this thing. But if somebody's even a little good at this other thing, it's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I feel like most heavyweights are so unathletic that it does feel like they're fucking bums. Like I don't mean to throw shade there. I obviously am, but like I like the talent pool in heavyweight MMA in general is so shallow. Like,
why is that, you think?
I just think it gets hard to be that athletic at heavyweight. And I think there are some guys that we've seen in the past who are, like savants, like Fedor, but in Fedor's case, he wasn't a natural heavyweight. Man, fucking me. Are you fucking with me right now?
No, I'm good. I completely agree.
Yeah, no, he like Fedor wasn't a natural heavyweight. You see guys like Dan Henderson beat Fedor.
Wait, when you say not a natural heavyweight, he was a lighter plus steroids. Right?
Small. Yeah. He or just it's always, once you get to a certain size, I just don't think that you really have the athletics to compete at that weight. And you have some guys that are very, very, like incredible jujitsu players and some good wrestlers and stuff. But I just think that those are so few and far between, as well as how shallow just in general the heavyweight division is. Like there aren't a lot of heavyweight fighters. It's I just think you don't have a lot to pick.
If you had to
Yeah.
go fight a heavyweight, and you were presented with the option that he was going to be an elite jiu-jitsu player, an elite wrestler, or an elite bomb thrower, which
Yeah.
one would you take, considering the weight disadvantage?
Right now, geez, what would I do?
Bomb thrower.
Yeah, no, I think I think right now I'd stand in there because I feel,
You just want to try and beat him with speed.
I feel like there's just way too, so I don't, it is difficult to grapple very heavy guys, especially like no gi, like if they're coming at you hard.
Little
But
ankle pick though.
no, I'm just thinking back on when I have trained with very big guys in the past and what's been easier. Damn, I'm so good at jujitsu. I'm so good at boxing. I don't know what to say.
You are so good. And for all this,
I'm trying
the
to.
listeners, all we ever talk about is how Ben just gets in there and throws bombs, which he does. But he is so good at jujitsu and
Yeah, no, I know.
refuses to use it. He'd rather die on his shield getting into a fucking sprawler's fight than get on the ground where he is elite at wrestling. Elite.
Also, I think the thing that he's really good at, to do like a little Ben parade here, is teaching this stuff.
Come on,
Like,
you
I
guys
think that he's really good at translating it into words. Like that anytime we've ever fucked around, especially with jujitsu stuff, and I've been like, I do this and this, right? And he's like, no, do this and this, and then this, and then it sticks in your head. Like he tells you the thing and he like gives you a description of it and it fucking sticks in your head. So I mean, if the very successful tech career goes the way the dodo Ben, you could become a jiu-jitsu teacher in Worcester. So that we've learned that from this podcast.
And just to even it out, to insult you a bit, you have the manners of a gorilla and you bleed quite easily. So there you go. Go on. Good. What was your thought?
Yeah, you are a fucking asshole. So when it comes down to Rogerio de Lima and Derek Lewis, I don't think de Lima is like that great. So I think he's good, but I don't think he's that great, and I think that he could get knocked out. So I'm probably going to take a value bet here with Derek Lewis. Again, they're fucking us at plus 183, which just seems like they're just lauding it in our faces at this point. But Matt, what do you got? Anything on this betting front with these two?
So I think just to keep the early fights interesting, that's going to cap off my 4-fight parlay. I have Rogerio de Lima, I have Kopilov, I have Jake Matthews, and then we didn't talk about this fight, but we have Matthew Smellsberger, who fights talented young
Smellsberger? What's his name?
Semmelsberger.
Oh, I've heard of
Matthew
him.
Semmelsberger.
I've heard of him.
He's very good. He's got a real shit fight. I'm not sure why, but he's fighting a guy that's coming up in weight.
He can't be that good. He's on the early prelims. We didn't even talk about him.
Yeah, he got dogged. It's not. Trust me, it's the fight to watch on the early prelims.
Okay, well, that's good to know. A little early prelim love from Mr. Wilcox. Trevin Giles, Gabriel Bonfim. Trevin Giles fucking sucks. He's fucking not good. Seen him fight a few times. I'm sure he beat my fucking scrawny ass, but he is definitely not that good. The guy he's fighting is 14-0. Great submission win in 2022 over Trey Waters. Had a tough debut in the Contender Series, won that. Submitted the guy in the first minute. This is a stepping stone fight just to have people see him on the prelims of a real heavy buy pay-per-view. We'll see like how good he really is. Obviously, there's levels to this. We know the old adages about stepping up in competition, but Dana White and the matchmakers see Trevin Giles the same way I do, and that's chump in the water of this division.
This is not one of those situations where like, oh, Trevin Giles is the gatekeeper. Nope, he is a stepping stone on a very short ladder. This is going to be a bad one.
Yeah, I mean, he can
you
do
know
whatever
what?
he wants. He get like I feel like this
line,
film guy can do whatever he wants. Jiu-jitsu, he can box him.
Exactly. It's going to be whatever he wants it to be. Alternate line, this doesn't go over 1.5 rounds.
Yeah, that's actually a really good bet. I think that there's just some serious value in like he puts him away incredibly quickly because I think that's and it could be a submission, to be honest. I wouldn't go that specific. But I think it's at high altitude. There might be some value in the idea of throwing value in the sense that if you bet on Trevin Giles, you'll put the amount of money you're betting and it'll look like a lot of money that you potentially will win, but you will not win that money. So I don't know. I mean, maybe if you were trying to be a hipster about it, you could bet that it gets out of the first round or that it goes the distance even, but I fucking doubt it. Um, Ben, have you ever been in a situation where there was like a heavy, like nobody thought you were going to win the fight or nobody thought the guy was going to beat you? Like, have you ever been like very heavily favored or very heavily the underdog? And does that affect you psychologically?
Yeah, I've been both. I remember coming up and opponents were just more seasoned when I was getting started. You know, I was fighting older guys because I was a kid, and they had already built a little bit of a record. And
It's really hard to like put fucking odds on that too, because it's like, is there footage of these fights that they've built a record of? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
who was it that they fought? Like, what are
Well,
they thinking
Ben,
about?
Ben, remember that fight where the guy was like 10 years older than you and he missed weight by like 20 pounds? That was scary.
it was
Like
MMA.
gross.
It was MMA. It was MMA.
Yeah. Yeah. And you whooped his ass.
Yeah. Yes, the dude at the Palladium.
Yeah.
I did whip his ass. Dude, I've been so good forever. Yes. Um, I do remember that because I remember word getting out that I wasn't supposed to hear among the gym of people being like, dude, this guy's fucking huge and game, dude. And Ben's like, like 19. Like,
Yeah,
and
you were so fucking scrawny back then.
Oh,
man. Like,
he was
you're
such a little boy.
little.
He
Yeah,
was such a
like,
little boy. I remember at the weigh-in, this guy's 5 o'clock shadow grew into his chest hair. And I was like, I remember being like, oh, we're in trouble.
That guy, that guy's alimony attorney was at the weigh-in. He had like lived a life. He was.
I had
He
never.
had to go. He had to go to his accounting job the next day.
Yeah. No, I remember talking to that guy. I didn't know shit about him. Everybody this is the funny thing. Everybody kept it from me. All this
They
stuff.
didn't want to fuck with your head, right?
Yeah. I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know that he was old. I didn't know, or older. I didn't know, how many fights he had had.
He had
I didn't-
shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. You didn't want to know any of this stuff.
Dude, I didn't, and they kept it from me. And then I heard it afterwards, and I was like, oh, and I talked to the dude, and he was like, telling me about his life, and I was like, shit, man, you should give it up. You're old.
Then you beat him. You won the fight.
Yeah. Well, dude walks through him. I remember there was a couple scary moments in there just because like he had man strength. And I was still a kid, but I just felt like I tied him up the entire time. He had nothing for me.
Yeah, he was like making noises when he was trying to pass guard, like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no passing guard. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I'm glad you won. I remember you at that age. You were way skinnier. It's
Old.
like very small. It's I can't even remember you at that size. It's wild. Okay, well, we know what's gonna happen to poor Trevin. Sorry. Oh, and Kevin Holland. He's quickly becoming someone that gives me like the absolute joy to want to bet on him, and then immediately makes me regret betting on him. The ass whooping Stephen Wonderboy Thompson laid on him was an all like people will forget it because it was like a fight night and it was like, you know, it was bad. But Wonderboy, and we're talking about him a little bit later in the card. Wonderboy looked fucking great in that fight, and he brought something out that I had never seen in him before, where he has this like nice guy persona. And Kevin Holland was like, "Come on, man, I'm doing the talky thing that I do. I'm Kevin Holland." And Stephen Thompson was like, "Yeah, no, we're fighting, and I'm gonna fuck put it on you." And like it was like, "Oh shit!" I thought he was
It's so funny because Wonder Boy's the nicest guy and he loves
Right.
to do that. Like, good job, man.
yeah. But he was like, "Fuck this."
We'll see.
And I,
Taekwondo. Do.
yeah, and I think he's a karate guy, isn't he? But
Whatever.
the
Excellent.
Dane Cook of martial arts.
Eric take boxing your body.
Yeah. I fucking hate Michael Chiesa though as well. Like he's just one of those guys.
Oh,
He's like your friend's friend, and like it's like, oh, Chiesa's gonna be there. I don't know if I want to come, man. It's nothing specific, you know. It's not anything he does necessarily. It's just his fucking energy. Like he's always like saying something, and I'm not 100% sure what he fucking meant by that, you know. And it's just fucking annoying. I hope Kevin Holland wins. I still am sort of carrying the flag of like this guy's fun personality, but I think that I'm not betting on him because I think what's become incredibly obvious is that he's way too okay with losing. There's just too much like I'm it's cool. We're just in here to like fuck around and have a good time. Like he doesn't take my bet seriously. You know what I mean? Like that's my with Kevin Holland. So I can't bet on him, but I also don't like Michael Chiesa. So I'm staying away. But where are you with this?
I am absolutely going to bet the farm again on Kevin Holland. You're right. He doesn't give a shit. You know what it feels like with Kevin Holland? It feels like I'm like trying to mentor a young student in high school, and they just keep getting in trouble. They won't listen to me. I think he's an incredibly talented guy, but he's just a knucklehead all through and through. But Chiesa has this natural problem of one, being incredibly stupid, and two, he lost his last 2 fights, hasn't fought since 2001. They put him on the shelf the same way they did Rob Whittaker.
He's 20 months off. That is a big factor.
Who don't you want to come in and stand in a ring with after 20 months off? It's a guy that throws wild like Kevin Holland. This is not a tune-up fight for him. This is a real war for him. So I will say this. I could see Chiesa losing the first round and then panicking and holding him in half guard for 2 more rounds. But I think we're going to see Kevin Holland win us back here. I don't think Chiesa's going to shake off that rust.
You've borderline talked me into it, but what about his hand? They're saying it's that he shouldn't be fighting yet with the broken hand after it was.
That's okay. He's an idiot. He's going to throw it. It's fine.
Ben, talking during a fight. I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. Were you a talker, and had you ever fought any? And what's the impact of it? Like, I would imagine, this is just a guess before you tell us the reality of it from your perspective, but I would imagine there's a world where you can just like not listen to it because there's so much other sensory stuff going on. But I mean, I'm sure that I've seen talking affect fighters and win fights. You know, if you say and do the right things and you follow up and you throw the punch that lands effectively, and then you double down on the bad thought that the person just had of that fucking hurt, right? And you're right, and you start to break their poker face down and stuff like this. But tell us about your experiences with that kind of thing in the ring. Were you much of a talker? Was it a little bit more, Tim Duncan, where it's like, oh, almost got me there, big fella, or was it more KG, like get that shit out of here? Like, which one was it? And have you experienced anything on the return?
Yeah, so I wasn't at first, but as I got older, my career just progressed, and I just kind of became more myself in there. I started talking a lot of fucking shit, like, I like maybe talking shit isn't the right way to say. Like, there definitely were some times when I was like getting into a bit of banter and like getting into it with some dudes, but
Tuesday, isn't it?
but I think the entire time I was interactive. So like somebody would throw a kick, I wouldn't block it just to take it, and I'd be like, "That's shit."
Yeah.
Like,
body language.
But I was a talker quite a few times. And then as far as people talking shit to me, man, not really. Like everybody was just serious because they were fucking beat the fuck up. And but I mean, I don't know. Elvis talked a lot of shit back to me. He didn't like talk shit back to me, but he was like, dude, how you like that one? Like,
good for him. Seems like you like that guy, to be honest.
Dude, I really do. I'm going to train.
Oh, nice.
He's a
for anyone that needs context on this for the listeners. This is a guy that Ben fought that I think you say, correct me if I'm wrong, he's the best guy you ever fought. That
Elvis Gashi. Yeah, go. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if he was the best that I ever fought. He had a very specific style that was very hard to beat. It depends on what style you're talking.
But it seemed like you like him and respect him. So, because he does come up in this context quite a lot. So that's nice. He was talking shit back. He was comfortable. There was like something there.
Yeah.
We could go out to dinner. I don't know. Like, maybe there's a spark.
We might. Who knows? He's number 4 in the world right now.
In what?
In kickboxing.
Oh, that's sick.
And if you go look at my tweet, he's doing pretty well. And he is coming back after a layoff. Elvis Gashi is his name. I'm not sure if I said that already, but
you did. You high fuck.
Yeah. But I'm going up there in a couple months. Me and my coach and training partner Brett are going to go do some sparring with him, help him get ready. So I'm excited. He's a great guy. Totally lost the plot on this. I am.
No, I mean, I'm just trying to move on from the fact that you have other friends. I'm gonna be okay, but I might.
No, I wouldn't call them friends.
My. Okay. So Michael Chiesa, Kevin Holland. Any opinions on these guys? What do you think of? Because I really did think that Kevin Holland had like some elite level athleticism and talent, and it just doesn't seem like that's gonna pan out. And Matt seems to want to bet the farm on him, give him one more chance, but maybe because it's Michael Chiesa who sucks. But like, any opinions on these guys?
Yeah, it's interesting. Michael Chiesa is definitely like a hard-nosed kind of guy, I guess. I really don't like him, to your point. Like when he was getting into it with Kevin Lee at the press
Yeah.
conference.
What the fuck
like,
was that? Nobody talks about my mom.
dude, I
You gotta be able to take your mama jokes, dude. Like at the very baseline.
yes, I was gonna say I hate when people get tied up in the your mama thing, like oh yeah, you're or even called a motherfucker, and somebody's like, dude, don't get pulled into that. That's the
But you can't show any the rules of dudes making fun of each other is two rules. It's you either have to have an equal or better comeback, or you have to just be like, you got me there. Like
Yeah,
you can't get mad, because if you get mad, everybody's gonna swarm like piranhas.
yeah, dude, it's such a bad look to like start the fight from talking.
Yeah.
Like dude, it's so embarrassing. Like,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah. Oh, you hurt my feelings. It's like you're a cage fighter. It's like, what are you doing? Nobody talks about my mom. That was honestly so fucking cringe. That was so fucking cringe.
Don't talk about my mom.
It's honestly, it's akin to the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen happen in a UFC cage when Anthony Lionheart Smith started being like, "You talk shit about my family," and who was it?
you're trying to take food from my family.
Oh yeah, but no, but
I-
he was like, "You shouldn't have said something about my family," and the other guy was like, "What?"
Yeah.
It was like, "Are you all right? We should
Yeah,
get a doctor in here."
Dude, that's
That guy's so fucking weird. I do honestly love the people under the stairs that they trot out at every UFC broadcast, like after the fact, if you leave it on. Because obviously you're done watching and you're like, all right, see you later. And they do like this post-fight breakdown. And it is like, it'll be like Michael Chiesa and fucking Anthony Smith. And it's like they just drag them out from some sort of fucking laboratory experiment to be like, well, I thought that his stand-up was, and it's just like, okay, the fights are over. We saw this already. Like, what are you doing?
dude, that guy's a heavyweight. Anthony Smith, heavyweight, big, huge heavyweight too. Like what, 6'4", 6'5"?
Yeah.
And took like 30 minutes to beat up that fucking
Guy that broke into his house.
like. I mean, I guess I get it. I've never been in that situation.
No. It's a classic. He went and put in a classic Anthony Lionheart Smith performance in that fight.
I'm gonna wait this guy out.
It's like, I'm just gonna go in there and I'm gonna fucking execute my game plan.
You get 25 minutes of cardio in you, fella.
Yeah, I do, because I'm on meth. So I absolutely have 25 minutes of cardio in me. It's like, dude, just choke him unconscious. What are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, like, even if you're scared, like, cause I can see that. Like, I know sometimes like situations that you run into in the street happen fast.
Yeah.
And like your reactions just have to be quick. But like, dude, once you get a hold of that guy and you're on the ground, again, I don't know, like maybe he had,
No,
like,
you do know. The thing is,
like,
you do know.
yeah,
You know, you just beat up a homeless person.
dude,
You did.
I feel like he
The person had committed a crime.
no, that'll do. I feel like just holding on like that. I would I feel like I would just choke him out like immediately.
Right.
I feel like there's been times when me and you wrestle where I can literally feel your arms moving at like quarter speed while you're choking me unconscious. It's a nobody. Just put him to the ground. I don't
just
understand.
feel like you got your hands on him. Just like, even how do you not mount a dude who doesn't know how to prevent? Like, it's just all crazy.
And you're a black belt. Black belt.
Huge. He's huge.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, maybe it is the meth. Maybe meth beats training. Maybe that's what we've learned. But I think more likely is that Anthony Lionheart Smith is just an idiot.
Yeah.
No, but I think to Matt's point, it's true. Like anytime we ever fuck around, like the amount of training, if no one has ever fought somebody who's a trained fighter, it will make you second guess getting into fights on the street. Because it's like, I remember a period in my life where I'd be like, we're going to go fight those kids, you know? And then, like, as my frontal cortex developed, it's like, what if he knows jujitsu? You know what I mean? Like, I don't. I got like, I've filled my day with different activities. Like, it's just like not that. And like, whenever you fuck around with Ben, it's like, you know, I always try my best, but if there's a 3-second window, he can choose to end it in at any time, and it's like, why not just do that? I don't understand.
Doesn't make any sense.
Honestly, there are well, just in your case, I just gotta look for the hands locking with the headlock. If I can prevent those hands from closing, yeah.
Well,
But
you're not getting out of the Clark headlock. I mean,
dude, yes, but that's the thing. Once it happens, I literally do just have to wait you out. It's like, like I'll just put him in a position that like sucks for him long. But this is
Yeah.
tight, and I don't want my glasses to break. And
yeah. No, that's 100% true. But it's like it's for me, from my perspective, like I'm winning points by not like losing outright yet. Like I'm winning.
Oh yeah.
the crowd by like not being out of there yet. So it's
Every minute you stay alive is a point.
what I also realized, and like this is just a theory, and you can only go so far with theory. But I think a guillotine is just a Clark headlock with the person's head going the other way. So I think I could get good at that if I tried, which I won't. So
yeah.
moving on to the next fight. No, I mean I should. It's good. It's a good way. It's a great way to stay in shape. Tony Ferguson, my God, Tony Ferguson. Oh, just
He's got
a crowd favorite, just a lunatic of the highest order. Nodded at me one time. Is fighting Bobby Green. I can think there's value in this bet. I'm betting on Tony. I bet he's done some stuff in training, like he said. I love the idea of like because the Kevin I call it the Kevin Lee approach. It's like Kevin Lee's like, I have a new coach, and then he loses. Then he comes back and he's like, I have a new car. And then he loses, and he's like, I have a new religion, and he fucking loses. And it's like, Kevin, maybe you're just not like at this level. You know what I mean? Like there was a time where he was beating people up. He was about to fight, ironically, Tony Ferguson, who choked him unconscious. And he was like, Connor McGregor can come get that ass whooping. Fucking Dustin Poirier can come get that ass whooping. It's like, dude, you're not on that level. Like at least at that time, it's like you were never on that level. But Tony did the Kevin Lee thing where he said, I figured out what I had to do. I trained this, I trained that. And ever since he cut weight for no reason to not fight Justin Gaethje and then cut weight again to fight Justin Gaethje, and was put through one of the most brutal fucking ass whoopings I've ever fucking seen in my life because there was no crowd. Those shots just sounded absolutely like upsetting. Justin Gaethje is a hard puncher by all accounts, a hard leg kicker, a vicious fighter, a difficult guy to fight. And he really put Tony through the ringer, and he honestly just hasn't been the same ever since. And his last, the problem, especially too, is he was winning that fight with Michael Chandler before he got the most hilarious still photography shot of a fucking kick to the face ever taken. Chandler kicked him in the face, and it's like, he might be done, but Bobby Green fucking sucks, dude. Like he might be
Bobby Green does
Bobby
suck.
Green. He might right? He might be able to beat Bobby Green.
Bobby Green does suck, but I think here's the problem for Tony. Bobby Green's whole game is defense and counter. I'm going to counter punch the shit out of you. And I think that that's a real problem for even Tony Ferguson from a couple of years ago, because Tony leads. Tony comes in fast. He swings wild from time to time, and that's where Bobby scores. I think that's why the line is so high. I think that there's a human element here where Bobby Green is he might be actually the dumbest person to ever fight in the UFC, and he could easily screw this up.
We just had a conversation about Anthony Smith.
That's true. That's true. At least Anthony Smith has a podcast that like is somewhat successful. Bobby Green, when you hear him talk, he can barely get sentences. So he could screw this up, but I understand why the line is where it is. And I've been saying it for a while now. It's just, your boy's all done. It's just a wrap now.
What about a submission win?
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. I don't think Tony, see, again, I think Tony's one of those guys that he is going to want to stand in there and bang with him because he has an ego issue, which is why he runs through coaches so much, I think. But I don't foresee that. I think you could catch him. I think you could just catch Bobby, being lackadaisical, getting cocky, winning a round, coming out dancing, and you just get slapped by something. But I think if I were to bet this, and I don't think I'm going to bet it, I think I'd bet Bobby Green.
Ben, is it just me, or did Tony Ferguson not always look like he had just been resurrected from a 2,000-year-old slumber when he moved around?
Like, looked so bad in those last couple fights.
Just the movement, like the athleticism, like you remember the point you were making last time about like when you see a guy, you just need to see a guy for a few seconds when he like how he hits the mat, like all that kind of stuff, and you can tell what level of ass whooping you can lay on him. It's like He just, it's just he's very
Dude,
Cowboy was like this towards the end of his career too. Like he was never that crazy, like, bouncy or fluid. But towards the end, it was like, Jesus Christ, the guy
no,
can fucking walk.
and Dave, like 3 years ago, Tony was going to be the guy that took down the Iron Eagle. He was going to beat
Let's
Oh,
not.
what's his name?
Let's not.
Kebab Manenov?
Let's not. The Iron Eagle. Like
Is that
that's
what his name is?
don't
Golden
make up
Eagle?
new don't just the
Silver
Eagle.
Hawk?
Don't
The
add
Eagle?
precious metals to this guy, please. For the love
How
of
do you say his name?
Khabib Nurmagomedov.
That's not it. That's ridiculous. But Tony was going to be the guy to do it. And look where he is now. It's just a sad that
I think if they had
a
fought, the first time, I think there was a chance of that happening. But
I think so too. It was a good matchup stylistically.
yeah, it is depressing, honestly, that whole Tony Ferguson thing. I'm gonna bet on him just as like a show of support because we bonded that time. But
That
otherwise,
Diaz fight, God,
I know. Oh fuck! God damn it! That looked
God,
bad too.
he is
Yeah,
so bad.
That
Dude, he
Diaz.
lost to Nate Diaz.
That
Like
that
not
Nate
lost.
Diaz,
Got his ass whooped.
well,
Dude.
I mean, that's not saying that much, right? Like Nate Diaz almost beat Leon Edwards.
Dave, it looked
Right
like they
before
brought
that.
them in on. It looked like they brought them in on wheelchairs. It was
I know.
embarrassing
I know.
for the UFC.
I
Yeah,
know.
but by the time Nate was out, like on his way out of and he didn't train at all for that fight because he was like kind of throwing that hissy fit, like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
fighting. He was gonna get destroyed.
Yeah, he
They
was.
gave him Tony, and he came in there, and dude, he looked so. Oh man, they both looked so bad, but he
So
still,
bad.
still beat his ass, dude. Tony shouldn't be fighting you. This
No,
like,
you shouldn't. That should have been his last fight.
yeah.
Maybe training. All right, fine. You guys are right. You guys are right. Stephen Thompson and Michelle Pereira. Pereira is one of the guys I won't bet on because he does stupid shit. Like he even if he's looking like he could win a fight, he'll knee the guy in the head while he's on the ground or like fucking poke him in the eye or do some stupid shit like that. This is like he's just this kind of guy. He is exciting. I don't think that there's any room for overly flamboyant fighting styles left at the elite level in the UFC. Like, I think that there was a time period where it's like, whoa, he caught him with the capoeira quick kick. And it's like, no, like Stephen Thompson's like not going to get caught by that. He's going to fuck you up. Like, he's going to fuck you up. And like, he looked so fucking badass the last time I saw him fight against Kevin Holland. And he looks in such fucking good shape. Like, he just looks like he lives that lifestyle that makes it so he can compete at an athletic level well into his fucking 30s. That I am this is the most confident I am for a win is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Michelle Pereira, especially because Pereira's going to try to stand up with him. And I think that Thompson is underrated as a striker. I think that he has a ton of fucking whip and power in his punches. And he just looks like the nicest guy. I thought that was like such a funny joke, by the way. I didn't even know Connor McGregor was capable of this. When they were talking about the nicest guy in the UFC award, Connor was like, I'm coming for that belt too, mother buddies. I was like, that's a fucking solid joke, dude. Like maybe not as punchy as we thought. Matt, any reason why you would bet Pereira here?
Dude, I think with Thompson's last 3 fights, he has just looked like he's stepped up his competition level to a whole nother place. He looks elite. He looks like he's cream of the crop. But I am going to take the Brazilian here. I think that we're going to see the exposure of Stephen Thompson again. And I think you might actually see a submission here. So I know you're right. But let me just say this also, Dave. I think it's a little funny that the 2 guys that you won't fight on because they dumb shit are both Brazilian. Just saying. But I think with Pereira,
Are you saying I'm racist against Brazil?
I'm just saying.
Yellow's just not my color. That's all.
Listen. I just need a Fogo de Chao. My new nanny is Brazilian. I'm riding with my people. Bom dia, motherfucker. Let's go with the Brazilian.
Yeah. What an old white guy you are. Holy
Ben, are you a Wonder Boy fan?
dude, I love Wonder Boy. He kind of has a style that I hate just because when I think of Muay Thai, like I think of Muay Thai as being beautiful all the time. Beautiful and powerful. Like I always think and just for the record, I think Muay Thai beats karate 10 times out of 10 every time they fight. But Stephen Thompson does it so well, man. He hides kicks behind punches that you don't see coming, like a jab, and then just like like literally just turns the hip for the head kick. That was his entry into the UFC. And I was like, damn, that was fucking sneaky. I hate it, but it's sneaky. And he kind of has that vibe about him. That's like Sage Northcutt's dad, like the like bleacher blonde, like 40-year-old who like is ripped. Like, and he's like, come on, kids. Like, I'm going to take you in the back of my truck down to get ice cream. Like, he's wicked nice.
Yeah.
The whole time. So, he just lives a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
I always feel like those guys are just great forever. That being said, Michel Pereira is huge. He's a huge athletic guy.
True.
But I think
Thompson's always needed a little bit of a range advantage or like a little bit of a like he getting canceled out by Tyron Woodley because he didn't want to come into that range, or getting sort of out grappled by guys like Bilal Muhammad or whatever. It's like there is, like Matt said, like holes to his game. But I do think that there's like I do still think he's a level above. I think he's a level above Pereira. I mean, we'll see. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think he's a level above in the sense that like, it's that like I don't fear the guy who's practiced 1,000 kicks once. I fear the guy who's practiced one kick 1,000 times. It's like, yeah, I agree with you that like karate and like that whole style is like on its base inferior to Muay Thai. But like, if you're that good at something, like if you're at that level at anything, you're hard to beat. And I think it's like, even if it's, and it's also not the same thing as say that Gracie kid that came in and he put in that embarrassing showing of like, just come to the ground with me. And it's like, dude, that's not this sport anymore. Like you need better versions of the other stuff.
What was that?
But also I just think Wonder Boy is like, I think you in another life you could have seen him like playing up front for the fucking USA men's national soccer team. You know what I mean? Like I think he's got that sort of well-rounded athleticism that gives him an advantage in a lot of different areas. Not just that. I think he's underrated in certain areas like takedown defense and stuff like that. I think he can really like bring a lot of that stuff to the table. And I think it's a no-brainer bet to bet Stephen Thompson, but that's just me. But yes, I am a little bit biased in the fact that he does just seem like a really great hang. Like a
Here's my thing though. Stephen Thompson, dude, if he was a superhero, he'd be Captain Planet. He's a fucking dork. All right, get it out there.
What was wrong with Captain Planet?
Look, clean up the mess, guys. Dork.
Yeah. Okay. Can I tell you something, Matt? Had we listened to Captain Planet then, we'd be in a much better fucking spot right now. So he might be a dork, but he had a point because now the world is on fire and we're
okay, Dave. Is it hot outside? It's summer. Relax.
Oh my God. This has officially become the Joe Rogan experience. Okay. Moving on. Jan Blachowicz is fighting Alex Pereira, guys. Alex Pereira is moving up in the world. It's a pick 'em. I think there's a ton of value in betting Alex Pereira here. I think I don't see him losing knockout power. Ben, I think you have a predilection. Yeah, I think you think that moving up weight classes diminishes power greatly. Is that true?
Moving up weight classes?
Yeah.
No. I think it kind of evens out your power. Like I don't think you lose power moving up in weight. I think you just it becomes muddy a little.
Right, because everybody's that big. Yeah.
But to just to finish that point, I think moving up in weight and then moving back down in a weight class destroys you. That's the end.
Oh, really?
Yes. I think if you move up, put on all the size, put on the muscle, and then have to lose that cutting back down, I think you see with Roy Jones Jr. That was literally the end of Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah,
I think if it's towards the end of your career, that kind of up and down, your body can't do it anymore.
Unless it's somebody like Izzy, but yeah.
Yeah. Cause like I remember I've sparred with some guys who still have fantastic power for their weight class to this day. An example would be Victor Saravia, a kid that I trained with in LA, fought on K1, fought for a whole bunch of really, really good organizations and did very, very well. He fought for the title at 2 different weight classes for K1, which is huge, but he fought at like 125. Dude, I would see him put it to guys who are 125, 135. And then we sparred the first time. And dude, the first round, he absolutely lit me up. Like touched me like 3-4 times every time he got in ring. And I was just like, oh man, that doesn't feel like anything. I can take all of those shots. I was like, because he came out and he hit me so many fucking times. I was like, oh, I probably can't take a lot of those. And then 2-3 more combinations. I was like, oh, he's not hitting hard. That's the thing. He's 125 pounds. So then I just waited for the second round. And I was like, all right, I gotcha. But yeah, he, I don't think, I just think it for a guy like Alex Pereira, I don't think it's something that you lose, like going up a weight class. I think Alex Pereira is at a weight where it just carries over. So
Yeah.
it's not, he's 155 coming up to heavyweight. He's 185 guy. Has fought heavier at 205 or in the 200 before at cruiserweight. I think he just has the power. And
He's like He-Man.
Well, let me ask you this, Ben. Do you think it's easier to knock out somebody like Sean Strickland than it is to knock out like a Jan Blachowicz because of the power they're used to facing?
No, I think Sean Strickland was just a fucking idiot. Like, if you had two different fighters, I'd give you a different example there. But like
Maybe, yeah. You know what I mean?
I was playing like this, like
Yeah.
like
He's
a kid in high school.
UFC isn't making that fight between him and Izzy, by the way. They're like, no. Like Izzy's like, fine, Strickland then. And the UFC's like,
UFC
no,
said,
that would
no.
be demolition. It's funny you say that thing about taking the power. I remember having this. I actually can relate to this experience. I remember we got into a fight outside my college dorm.
Yeah.
And it was like a group fight, like two groups. I started it. It was my fault. But it was like two groups yelling at each other. And like one guy hit my friend and I went for him and I didn't realize that another dude had sneaked around behind me. Smart of him. And he started like fucking hitting me in the back of the head. And I remember being like, fuck, like I'm fucked. Like I'm getting hit in the back of the head. Like there's nothing I can do. And then I remember like in the next split second being like, oh, those don't hurt at all. And then I just remember being like, you're in for something we like to call the Clark headlock, my friend. And my hand just like snaking up around the back of me and like getting them and like flipping them over and being on top of them. And I was like, you just weren't strong enough, pal. Like, you didn't do the right thing. You should have killed me when you had the chance.
Why didn't you just win? What are you saying?
Yeah, why didn't you just beat my ass? But it's like that moment of like, oh fuck, I'm getting punched like in the back of the head. And then it's like the next second you go, oh fuck, that doesn't hurt at all. I'm fine. Like there wasn't even any bumps or bruises on my head the next day. I was like, oh, you're so stupid. You should have hit me way harder. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? But it is a thing where it's like the power translation. It's like, you know, Pereira's going to be like potentially faster, and he is a super elite striker. And it took a guy on the level of Israel Adesanya to figure out a hole in his game, and then it took him 3 tries to exploit it. So to me, I just think like the weight's not going to be like that huge of a deal. I think it's going to be Pereira all day. I think Blachowicz is good. I think he's shown really good moments in this sport, but I don't think he's like the best champion that weight class has seen over the last decade either. So I'm it's a pick him because of the weight change. I'm leaning Pereira here. What do you think, man?
I agree with you. I agree completely. Poetan all the way. I think the issue with Jan is that it's very clear here that he should try and take him down frequently and fast.
He won't.
And he's not going to do that. Jan makes bad decisions. He
Yeah.
makes bad decisions. He's going to want to prove to everyone that he's got heavy hands. And he does, but you're dealing with just like Poetan, like hands of stone. It's scary. I can't wait to watch him knock somebody else out. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's a great co-main event, honestly, and
It really is.
The fact that it's for a strap, whenever you can have that happen, is dope. And then I guess so is the main event. It's for a strap too, but it's for the bad motherfucker title, or yeah, is it bad motherfucker? Is that what it is?
Baddest motherfucker.
Yeah, the baddest motherfucker. It's very gimmicky. It's very WWE, the whole endeavor. But see what I did there? But do you fuck with Dustin Poirier? Like outside of the context of us being like Connor McGregor fans, like do you fuck with Dustin Poirier in any way? Like, what's your level of respect for like what he's accomplished in this game? Like comparatively to like how elite he is sometimes to like how dumb his losses have been.
I'm glad you asked that because I was thinking about this earlier today when I was getting ready for this. I think Dustin Poirier might be the best 155 fighter of all time to not have a belt.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Right?
I'd say that's.
He has progressed at every step of his game, up and up and up. And he's a killer. He is a killer.
Yeah, but like Gaethje also has like changed his game pretty aggressively. Like we were talking little shit about him when he was about to fight Viziev, and it's like he's actually finally perfected this idea of like he went from like being way too fucking crazy, and like way too violent and box office, don't get me wrong. And like, you know, been able to take punches, but he would like get knocked out for doing stupid shit, to like a very clinical sort of tactical, his coach, what's his name? Whitman, Trevor,
Yeah.
really got like a really like nuanced tactical fighter out of him that like let him kind of climb the ranks up until an embarrassing showing against Khabib. And now it looks like he has this kind of merging of styles, this like hyper violent, like very aggressive way, but he's still kind of like is able to like rock with the rhythm of the fight. And also
In the pocket and counter.
yeah, and also like the level of violence that he seems to be able to undergo. I'm not sure. Like Dustin Poirier's on record being like, that was the worst experience of my life. Like he won the fight and he was like, I don't ever want to go through that again. Like I just
Right.
don't. I'm just I have a little bit of a hunch that like once that starts up again, and no disrespect to Dustin Poirier on this level, I wouldn't be able to do this. I'm not sure a lot of people would. I just think he's gonna be like, "Ugh, yes, dude. Like for the bad motherfucker belt. Like,
Yeah.
fuck this, dude. Like those leg kicks are gonna start landing again. Like apparently leg kicks like a fucking mule. And like it's just like, ugh. Ben, have you ever had an experience where you just don't feel like being there? Or was
Yeah.
that just not in your DNA? What does that feel like? Are you able to just like rip it around, or like what do you do in that situation? It's gotta be so disheartening.
Yeah, I remember I got knocked down twice towards the end of my career.
Like in the same fight.
Yeah, in the same fight. I tripped during the first one, and
They
then
call it they call it a knockdown.
they called it a knockdown, and then I
Fuckers.
got legitimately knocked down the second time by a spinning back elbow that broke my nose. And I remember sitting there against the ropes, like looking over at my coach, looking at the ref, counting.
You were like, I'm gonna learn how to code.
Yeah, and I was like, this is fucking bullshit. And I remember being so fucking mad and just tired. And I was like, fuck. I was like, all right, whatever. Let's see if you can knock me the fuck out. And I remember getting up and just going at the fucking guy. And man, it was it was an ugly fight. But didn't get knocked out, and was able to push through it.
Do you think that like if what I say is true about Poirier, and he does feel like, you know, a little sick of fighting Justin Gaethje because of like the level of violence, like do you think a combat sports athlete, just by how they're built or one at this level, is just going to be able to shake that off completely, or is there a chance what I'm saying is true and he's just gonna be like, fuck this, dude?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be this time, but what you're referring to is a real thing, and I think it's hard to say that nobody is built like there's a person who isn't built like that. I think you see guys like what's the name, Yoel Rivera, who's just
Romero.
built like fucking like
Yeah.
a rock
Yeah.
person, like
Yeah, like a golem.
yes, and so he doesn't get hurt as much. Like that's a hard guy to hurt, and he has so much natural power. But I think if you put him up against someone like himself, over and over and over again, I think eventually he gets old. I think everybody gets old. Time is,
But like your spirit, I'm talking about your spirit getting old.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the
like-
spirit breaks with your body.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't think Joel has met a person like that yet because
because they made him in that one lab specifically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Matt, who you got here? This is kind of a tough one.
It's a tough one to call because I think Dustin's a better fighter. I think Gaethje's got it. I think he's going to stuff 10, 15 takedowns, going to keep him standing up. And I just don't think Dustin's going to edge him this time. I think Gaethje looks a lot tighter than he has in those last two fights that we watched. And it looked like we were looking at a different guy. I really, really think that this one's just Dustin for a third showdown rubber match. Let's go 1 versus 1. And I can't wait for it. I love watching these guys fight. It's disgusting. It's honestly gross, but I'm very excited.
Who would you
Let's
say
go.
you'd be cheering for, like between the two? Because I don't really like either of them.
Oh, I know you don't like. I like Justin. I'm gonna root for Justin all the way. But I'll never like Dustin again. He's a little white little bitch. His wife's in my boys' DMs.
Yeah,
Your wife's in DMs, baby.
He should get that sorted though. Honestly, it's embarrassing for him. Ben, same two questions. I mean, who you got on paper, and like what's your like level of fan? What's your fan level with these two guys? Like, because I feel like they are sort of polarizing, but I think like a lot of hardcore UFC guys do love both these dudes. You know, they would both be considered fan favorites. So I'm interested to know like your take on them as you know, a fan of the sport, and also like where you got these guys on paper.
Yeah, I mean, I think Justin may be on the decline. Not specifically anything performance related, just time related. Like
Yeah.
going to get there, and I think Gaethje is kind of on his way up. Like his performances have gotten better and better. I think.
And then from a fan level, what do you think? Like,
I think Dustin takes it. I want to make sure I say that.
Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, Dustin Poirier. Did I say Justin twice? I was nervous.
You did.
Well, it's the battle of the Austin, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah. Oh no, dude, I'm just cooked, man. I think from a fan perspective, it's hard for me to say because I don't give a shit about any fighter. Like,
Right.
I like don't know him. And
It's reminiscent of when you're like, oh yeah, like that actor, and I'm like, fuck him. Like I fucking hate all of them. Who the fuck works?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, but like
You're too close to it. You're too close to it. So it's like hard to be like a fanboy about it, like we are, because it's like, you have to be a fan of something. You sort of have to be distant to it in a certain way, right? So I do get that. So maybe it wasn't a super fair question, but hey, listen, you guys did a fucking great job. We had a wonderful check my oil.
we did so bad this time.
Get your finger out of my butt. This has been Check My Oil, UFC 291 this Saturday. Matt, do you want to tell us a parlay before we go?
Guys, listeners, listen, ride this with me. We'll either die glorious heroes or be broke and destitute. Semmelsberger, Matthews, Kopolov, and Rogerio de Lima. It's the favorite parlay of the early prelims and prelims. Let's ride.
All right. Fuck it. We ball. Gentlemen, listeners, thank you so much. UFC 291 this Saturday. Tune in. Be there, be square. Thanks, guys.
Mwah.
Are you passionate about saving the planet for future generations? Do you want to learn how to do it? If yes, then you need to tune in to the Nature Backed podcast. It's a talk show covering the changing world around us, from renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, circular economy, to ESG and social innovation. Don't miss this opportunity to discover how you can join the movement and make a difference. Subscribe to the Nature Backed podcast today on your favorite platform and get ready to be amazed.
Welcome to the Reverie channel, where entertainment knows no bounds. Live concerts, on-demand music, documentaries, and short films, all in stunning HD. Now on Roku TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Immerse yourself from home. And on Android and iOS for those on the move. Support creators with crowdfunding donations. Fuel their creativity. Join us in shaping entertainment's future. The Reverie channel, where every view, every donation matters.
Electricast.